An outstanding student stood at the podium, basking in the praise of his teacher. Suddenly, his gaze was drawn to a girl running across the schoolyard below. She waved at him, a bright smile illuminating her face. Infected by her joy, a small smile played on his lips. "Damn," he thought. "I think I'm in love." Later, on the school bus, Hu Young was about to get off when the bus driver asked him to wake up the girl sleeping next to him. Hu Young wasn't one to interfere in other people's business, but the driver insisted, so he nudged the girl's backpack. The girl, Hongju, startled awake, hurried off the bus ahead of him, oblivious to Hu Young limping behind her due to a leg injury. They both arrived at the school gate at the same time. Hongju panicked when she saw a teacher scolding late students. Realizing she was also late, she frantically searched for a way to escape the teacher's wrath. Her eyes landed on Hu Young struggling to walk. Without hesitation, she linked arms with him, pretending to explain to the teacher that she was late because she was helping her injured friend. Her act quickly fell apart. Hu Young coldly told the teacher that he didn't know Hongju. To prove his point, he asked her what his name was. Instinctively, Hongju tried to glance at his name tag, but he swiftly covered it with his hand. Her charade of friendship failed miserably. Hongju was left to face the music, while Hu Young was allowed to go to class due to his injury and stellar academic record. Fuming, Hongju watched him walk away. Their feud had begun. During break time, Hongju complained to her best friend, Hai Ji, about being scolded, blaming the cold-hearted cast boy. Hai Ji, however, was preoccupied. Blushing, she confessed, "I have a crush on Hu Young, the top student in the school." Being somewhat of a rebel, Hongju didn't care who was top of the class, and had never even heard of Hu Young. Hai Ji pointed him out, the boy with the cast on his leg. Hongju turned to look, realizing it was the same annoying cast boy from earlier. She advised Hai Ji not to judge a book by its cover, but Hai Ji was already smitten and determined to confess her feelings. Not wanting to crush her friend's dreams, Hongju offered encouraging words. "Don't worry, you and Hu Young are definitely meant to be." As they were heading back to class, Hongju spotted Hu Young in his classroom. Calling out to Hai Ji, she excitedly waved at him. At that moment, Hu Young, having just solved a particularly difficult math problem, was being praised by his teacher. Bored with the accolades, he looked out the window, his eyes meeting Hongju's radiant smile and enthusiastic wave. Her cheerful expression unexpectedly struck a chord in his heart. He stared, mesmerized. Hongju had no idea she'd inadvertently caught Hu Young's eye. To further embolden Hai Ji, Hongju agreed to accompany her friend to deliver a love letter. However, when faced with Hu Young, Hai Ji became too nervous to speak. She begged Hongju to deliver the letter for her, bribing her with the military address of her favorite author. Bang! Left with little choice, Hongju reluctantly agreed. Ignoring the teasing from surrounding classmates, she handed the letter to Hu Young, asking if he would reply. Before Hu Young could fully register his joy, Hongju continued, "This is from my best friend. I'm confessing on her behalf." 10 years flew by. Hu Young, now living in the US, returned to Korea on business. He went to meet the younger sister of a friend on his behalf, only to run into Hongju at a cafe. She even mistook him for her blind date. Hu Young removed his sunglasses and called her name. Realizing her mistake, Hongju stood up and moved to the next table, completely ignoring Hu Young. He suspected she'd forgotten him, but his eyes kept drifting back to her. After the meal, Hu Young declined to drive the other girl home. His mind was full of the unexpected encounter with Hongju. He couldn't stop wondering if she remembered him. On his way home, Hu Young was surprised to see Hongju waiting at a bus stop. He mustered his courage and called her name again. Just then, a bus arrived, its horn blaring, urging him to move his car. By the time he circled back, Hongju was gone. Disappointed at missing his chance, he suddenly spotted her snacking at a street vendor. It turned out her date hadn't gone well, and they'd parted ways amicably. Hu Young quickly parked and ordered the same snack as Hongju. He asked if she'd forgotten him. To his surprise, she called him by name. He realized then that she had recognized him at the cafe. After 10 years, she still held a grudge about the school incident. Learning that he'd moved to America and hadn't contacted anyone, she took out her phone, saved his number, and said she'd call when she had time. "I'm sure our old classmates would love to see you," she added. Hu Young asked directly, "What about you? Would you be happy to see me?" Hongju burst out laughing, spraying the broth from her snack all over him. Mortified, she saw her bus approaching and dashed after it, without cleaning up the mess. She paid for both their snacks, and told the vendor to give Hu Young the change as compensation for his dry cleaning bill. Holding the handful of coins, Hu Young lamented the brevity of their encounter. It was only then that he realized his parked car had been towed. Back home, Hongju recounted the meeting to Hai Jai, who immediately bombarded her with questions about whether Hu Young was still as handsome as before. Her unrequited crush had ended 10 years ago, but he was her first love, and the news of his return stirred up old emotions. Hu Young eagerly awaited Hongju's call, assuming she'd saved his number and would reach out. He waited and waited. Finally, a call came from an unknown number. It was Hai Jai, invited him to a class reunion. Hearing Hongju's voice in the background, he guessed she'd be there too, and readily agreed. The reunion was held at Sang Pil's restaurant, an old classmates. Sang Pil greeted Hu Young with a bear hug, then proceeded to complain about Hongju and Hai Jai. Overjoyed to see her old crush, Hai Ji drank one glass after another until she passed out at the table. Sang Pil sighed, clearly having witnessed this scenario before. Hu Young kept looking for Hongju. Finally, the door opened, and a disheveled, stumbling figure walked in. It turned out that before the reunion, Hongju had been tasked with delivering something to a director, only to run into her first love, now the famous writer Junho. The unexpected reunion left her flustered, and she drowned her mixed emotions in alcohol. Seeing Hai Ji equally intoxicated, she embraced her friend, and the two proceeded to wreak havoc in the restaurant. Exasperated, Sang Pil, knowing Hu Young lived near Hongju, asked him to take the drunk mess home, leaving Hai Jai in his care. Hu Young trailed behind Hongju, making sure she didn't fall. As they passed their old school, Hongju's mind seemed to regress back to their school days. She began berating him for getting her in trouble for being late. Listening to her rambling, Hu Young, rarely one to laugh, couldn't help but chuckle. Hongju thought he was possessed. In her eyes, Hu Young was cold, aloof, not handsome, and only had a smart head. After pouring out her heart, she extended her hand, formally welcoming him back to Korea. Still caught up in the memories of her first love, she told Hu Young, "First love only happens once in a lifetime. It's like frozen food. It has to be kept cold to preserve its original freshness. Once thawed, it goes bad." She then warned him, "Never meet your first love again." Hu Young was speechless. His first love was Hongju. He not only wanted to see her again, but also wanted to make up for lost time. Hongju continued to stumble forward. Hu Young was surprised to find her heading towards his front door, seemingly intending to go inside. Amused by her drunken antics, he chuckled again. "My first love hasn't just thawed," he said. "It's currently melting." Flashback to high school. To help her best friend snag the school's hot guy, Hongju diligently delivered 10 love letters. When he didn't respond, she accused him of being a jerk and not giving a straight answer. Unbeknownst to her, she was the one he liked. His silence was a deliberate strategy to create more opportunities to see her. Hongju constantly found excuses to deliver letters to Hu Young. He feigned indifference, but secretly, he followed her every move. Seeing her collapse on the sports field from exhaustion after chasing him, he couldn't help but check on her. Learning she was waiting for him outside the restroom, he rushed to fix his hair in the mirror. However, in Hongju's eyes, his lack of response was irresponsible. To force his hand, she wrote a love confession on the blackboard. Hu Young calmly erased it, still unresponsive. Furious, she confronted him, asking why he acted like nothing had happened. He retorted that not answering was an answer, telling her to tell Hai Jai to focus on her studies instead of writing love letters. Speechless, Hongju snapped that he knew nothing about love, and that she'd never like someone like him. Overhearing their argument in the library, Sang Pil, Hu Young's deskmate, was surprised by his unusual behavior. Hu Young never accepted love letters, and was usually adept at rejecting advances. He figured something was up. Indeed, it was Hu Young's secret crush that caused the trouble. Accepting the letters and remaining silent was all part of his plan to encourage Hongju to seek him out, to see her more often. Oblivious to his feelings, Hongju, wanting to recommend a book by Junho to the library, racked her brains to write a proposal. Overcome by sleepiness, she dozed off at her desk. Hearing her soft snores, Hu Young found her sleeping, her head bobbing precariously. He gently steadied her head and laid it down on the desk. Seeing her unfinished proposal, he finished it for her and submitted it. Hongju woke up groggily, unaware of his actions, and assumed she'd misplaced the proposal. Back to the present, Hai Ji scolded Hongju for arriving late and drunk to Hu Young's welcome party, demanding an explanation. Hongju confessed she'd run into her ex-boyfriend, Junho. At the mention of his name, Hai Ji erupted, telling Hongju to stay away from that jerk. It turned out Junho was Hongju's first love. She took the relationship seriously. However, 3 years prior, Junho had abruptly left for another country without explanation, despite Hongju's pleas, leaving her deeply hurt. The previous night, after Hu Young took a drunk Hongju home, He discovered she lived in the apartment directly above his uncle's, and that they were close friends. To naturally approach Hongju, he asked his uncle to request her services as a tour guide. His uncle was puzzled. Why not pursue his first love instead of Hongju? He had no idea that Hongju was his nephew's first love. Unable to resist his nephew's persistence, he called Hongju, asking her to show his nephew around. Hongju had a photo of his uncle's adorable niece on her phone. She showed the picture to Haijai, a cute little girl. Hongju had always dreamed of having a lovely child like that. While that dream was still in the future, experiencing the joy of guiding a cute kid around wouldn't be bad. The next day, Hongju rang her uncle's doorbell, only to be greeted by Hu Young. To her further shock, the adorable little girl in the picture was actually a young Hu Young. Stunned into silence, she considered backing out, but Hu Young, holding her to her promise, insisted she take him sightseeing. Resigned, she took him to the amusement park as planned. While he was distracted, she quickly called Haijai, hoping to pass on the opportunity to spend time alone with Hu Young. However, Haiji was dragged off on a hike with her father and had spotty cell service, missing the call. When she finally found a signal, she saw a message from Junho saying he'd be visiting. Furious, she rushed home. After he greeted her parents, she warned him to stay away from Hongju, reminding him how he'd hurt her. Confidently, Junho claimed Hongju still had feelings for him, telling Haiji not to be so overprotective. Unable to reach Haijai, Hongju reluctantly spent the day with Hu Young, laughing and enjoying thrilling rides. Their final destination, fried chicken by the Han River, was cancelled due to unexpected rain. On the drive back, Hu Young recalled Hongju's warning about meeting first loves. He wanted to tell her she was his first love. However, she misinterpreted his intention, thinking he was about to criticize her past comments about him being immature, cold, and heartless. She quickly interrupted, profusely apologizing. Hu Young, assuming she knew about his feelings, engaged in a comical misunderstanding, talking at cross purposes, until they realized their miscommunication. He was both amused and frustrated, while Hongju, bewildered, worried she'd overstepped. To change the subject, she fiddled with the car, accidentally opening the window. Rain poured in. To shield her, Hu Young leaned over to close it. Turning back, they found themselves incredibly close, their eyes locked in a charged silence. Only when Hongju spoke did he retreat to his seat. Back at her building, they stood under the awning, sheltering from the rain. Hu Young put his arm around her shoulders, pulling her closer. The proximity intensified the charged atmosphere. Flustered, Hongju grabbed her umbrella and dashed upstairs. Hu Young, gathering his courage, called after her. The confession was on his lips, but instead he said, "Don't forget our fried chicken date." Safe inside her apartment, Hongju's heart raced. Never had the words, "fried chicken date," held such a lure. The moment their eyes met, she thought he was about to kiss her. She rationalized it, blaming either his captivating looks or her own long-term love deprivation. The next day at work, her boss called her in, asking her to collaborate with a new author on a film adaptation. To her dismay, the author was Junho. As a producer, she immediately objected, but the decision was final. After the meeting, she cornered Junho, demanding he stay out of her life. He remained calm, convinced she still loved him. He explained his 3-year absence was for research for his novel, and now he was back for her. Hongju refused to rehash the past, only asking him to keep their history secret to avoid affecting their work. However, to the narcissistic Junho, her actions only confirmed his belief that she still cared. He condescendingly declared they'd never truly broken up, just been apart for 3 years, then produced old letters from her as proof of her lingering affection. Meanwhile, Hu Young had finished his work, and his uncle urged him to return to headquarters. Reluctant to leave Hongju, he feigned unfinished business, inventing excuses to stay. His uncle assumed he was lingering for his first love, mistakenly believing it was Haijai. Hu Young ignored his uncle's assumptions. Just then, he spotted Hongju and Junho in a cafe. Recognizing Junho as Hongju's ex, his uncle angrily labeled him a jerk. When Hongju stepped outside, her uncle angrily confronted her about being with that jerk. Before she could respond, Junho emerged, grabbing her arm and again interpreting her reluctance to work with him as lingering affection. As her uncle was about to intervene, Hu Young stepped forward, taking Hongju's hand. "You left your hair tie at my place yesterday. It's in my car. Let's go get it." Hongju played along, exclaiming, "That's my favorite one," and pulled him away. Flashback to high school. To accompany Hongju to visit an acquaintance at a military base, Hu Young skipped an important interview. He hadn't realized she was going there to confess her feelings to her crush. Back to the present. Hongju, harassed by her ex, was rescued by Hu Young, who pretended to be her current boyfriend and pulled her away. Hiding, she checked if Junho had left, while Hu Young, secretly thrilled, gazed at their clasped hands. Once Junho was gone, she thanked him. Only when they returned to the company did she realize they were still holding hands. Hongju met with her boss, formally refusing to work with Junho. Her firmness convinced everyone, including her boss, that he was her first love. He advised her to reconsider. Was it worth jeopardizing her career over a long-past relationship? Leaving Hongju's office, Hu Young questioned his uncle about the man he'd seen. His uncle identified him as Junho, Hongju's first love. Stunned, Hu Young dropped his cup. He remembered writing the book proposal for her in the library, a book by Junho. Then, he recalled another painful incident. Hu Young, a star student, is on his way to Seoul for a prestigious math Olympiad interview. He's the pride of his school, and the future looks bright. But as he leaves the school gates, he spots Hongju, his classmate, looking disheveled and clearly skipping class. She claims she's sick and heading home, but her energetic stride betrays her lie. Hu Young, worried, makes a split-second decision. He ditches the Seoul trip, buys a ticket on the same bus as Hongju, and becomes her unexpected shadow. Hongju isn't thrilled. She throws barbed comments his way, hoping he'll leave her alone. But Hu Young is persistent, driven by a concern he can't explain. He ignores calls and texts from his worried mother and teachers, even silencing his phone. He follows Hongju to an army base, assuming she's visiting a relative. Then comes the bombshell. Hongju confesses she's there to confess her feelings to a soldier named Junho. Hu Young's heart shatters. The girl he secretly likes is in love with someone else. His unspoken first love ends before it even begins. Hongju learns that Junho's unit has been transferred, the location undisclosed. Dejected after her long journey, she's on the verge of tears. Hu Young, despite his heartbreak, reminds her about the last bus home. But Hongju, heartbroken, craves spicy ramen. At a small eatery, she uses the excuse of the fiery noodles to mask her tears. Hu Young, unable to bear her sadness, finishes his meal and returns with her to the army base. He pleads with the guard for information about Junho's new posting. Annoyed, the guard finally reveals that Junho has been transferred to a remote mountain base, with no visitors allowed for 6 months. Hu Young fumes, calling Junho a jerk for keeping Hongju in the dark. They rush to catch the last bus, but Hongju falls and they miss it. She blames Hu Young for worrying about her instead of catching the bus himself, but he couldn't leave her stranded. Years later, Junho, the very guy who caused Hongju so much heartache, reappears in her life. Hu Young is furious and plots to keep them apart. His uncle, witnessing Hu Young's distress, finally realizes the object of his nephew's long-held affection is Hongju. He predicts trouble, stating that Hu Young is not Hongju's type. Adding to the pressure, Hu Young is due back in America, forcing him to choose between his career and his unresolved feelings. As if on cue, his mother calls, urging his return. She then calls his uncle, asking him to relay the message. A dejected Hu Young wanders the streets. Meanwhile, Hongju is wrestling with whether or not to collaborate with Junho on a project. She spots Hu Young and silently follows him. Hu Young sees her reflection in a window. Seizing the moment to be alone with her, he offers to fulfill an earlier promise to buy her fried chicken. Hongju agrees, but she has a hidden agenda, to set Hu Young up with her friend Hai Jai. She secretly calls Hai Ji. Hu Young, sensing something is amiss, uses the conversation about Junho as an opportunity to tease Hongju about her poor taste in men. They bicker, their playful argument creating an invisible barrier around them. Hai Jai observes their interaction, noticing the strange intimacy in their quarrel. Exhausted from the argument, Hongju excuses herself to the restroom, leaving Hai Jai and Hu Young alone. Hai Ji confronts him, asking if he likes Hongju. He confesses his long-held feelings, leaving Hai Jai with a pang of jealousy. She asks about his plans, specifically if he'll stay in Korea. His hesitant response makes her doubt the depth of his affection for Hongju. Before leaving, Hai Ji gives Hu Young a stern warning. If he's not serious, he shouldn't toy with Hongju's feelings. If he does, she'll be the first to come after him. Oblivious to this exchange, Hongju calls Hai Ji, fishing for details about her interaction with Hu Young. Hai Ji, struggling with her feelings, abruptly ends the call. Hai Jai's words leave Hu Young reeling. He's still torn about staying in Korea or returning to America. His uncle insists he's not Hongju's type, and now Hai Ji seems to agree. Hongju herself appears indifferent, even commenting on his awkwardness. Everyone seems to be advising him to give up on this one-sided love. But after 10 years of harboring these feelings, he's not ready to let go. Hongju has her own internal struggles. She pulls out a box hidden under her bed, filled with mementos of Jun-ho. She remembers starting her career, telling her boss about her passion for the industry. Impressed, he hired her on the spot, overlooking her lack of experience. Now, with the opportunity to prove herself, she can't let past feelings hold her back. With newfound clarity, Hong-ju meets her boss the next morning and agrees to collaborate with Jun-ho as the production supervisor for the film adaptation of his novel. Her boss is pleased with her maturity, reminding her to maintain a professional relationship with Jun-ho. Meanwhile, after a sleepless night, Hu-young decides to return to America. His uncle advises him to say goodbye to Hong-ju, but he hesitates, still hurt by her past rejections. He boards a car to the airport, telling himself to let go of this hopeless love. Just as his conflicting emotions reach a peak, he receives a call from Haiji. Hong-ju has been in a traffic accident. Haiji can't get there immediately and asks Hu-young to check on her. Panic sets in. He tells the driver to turn around, abandoning his trip. Arriving at the hospital, he doesn't even bother with his luggage, rushing inside to find Hong-ju. Seeing her lying in the hospital bed, he regrets his decision to leave. Hong-ju drifts in and out of consciousness, her mind flashing back to her childhood. She remembers living with her aunt and overhearing her uncle discuss sending her to an orphanage or other relatives after her aunt became pregnant. Young Hong-ju, terrified of abandonment, vowed to stay strong and always smile. Later, in high school, she recalls having a fever. The school nurse advised her to go home, but she begged to rest for a while. Parched, she reached out for a glass of water. Opening her eyes, she saw Hu-young holding her hand. Back in the present, Hu-young is about to call a doctor when Hong-ju insists she's fine, just a fall while avoiding a car. She tells him not to worry about her. Once again, her distance stings. But this time, Hu-young won't back down. He takes her hand and places it on his chest, letting her feel the beating of his heart. Just as he's about to confess his feelings, a doctor arrives for a checkup, breaking the spell. Hong-ju is taken for tests. The memory of Hu-young holding her hand makes her heart race, but she tells herself not to get carried away. Hu-young is the one Haiji likes. Worried about Hong-ju, Haiji informs her father about the accident. Uncomfortable with his daughters handling the situation alone, he calls Mr. Sun, a teacher Haiji once set Hong-ju up with on a blind date, and asks him to go to the hospital with her. Mr. Sun, harboring a secret crush on Haiji, agrees instantly. Not wanting to inconvenience Mr. Sun, Haiji tries to catch a ride herself. Seeing this, Mr. Sun offers to drive her to the hospital. Rushing out of the car in her high heels, Haiji almost twists her ankle. Mr. Sun catches her just in time and, to her surprise, pulls a pair of sneakers from his trunk for her to wear. At the hospital, Haiji runs into Hu-young's uncle. Knowing he's aware of Hu-young's feelings for Hong-ju, she enlists him in a matchmaking scheme. After her checkup, Hong-ju, now on crutches, shares an elevator with Hu-young. She encourages him to pursue Haiji, mentioning her popularity. Just as Hu-young is about to deny any interest in Haiji, the elevator doors open, and a crowd enters, pushing Hong-ju closer to him. They exchange a look, and Hong-ju, recalling past moments of closeness with Hu-young, chides herself for her wishful thinking. Assured that Hong-ju is okay, Haiji launches her plan. She pretends to be dating Mr. Sun, dramatically linking arms with him in front of Hong-ju. Mr. Sun, playing along, apologizes for his past blind date with Hong-ju, confessing his long-standing feelings for Haiji. Haiji mentally applauds his performance, unaware that his confession is genuine. To give Hu-young and Hong-ju some alone time, Haiji drags Hu-young's uncle into Mr. Sun's car, instructing Hu-young to take Hong-ju home. On the drive, Hu-young's uncle questions Mr. Sun about his feelings for Haiji, sensing sincerity in his earlier confession. Caught off guard, Mr. Sun stumbles over his words, trying to hide his true emotions. Haiji takes them to their old classmate, Sangpil's restaurant for drinks. The three friends catch up, while Mr. Sun quietly serves Haiji, carefully selecting the best pieces of food for her. Meanwhile, Hong-ju is eager to return to work. Hu-young teases her about becoming a workaholic, a stark contrast to the class-skipping student she once was. His comment triggers a flashback to the day Hong-ju skipped school to confess to Jun-ho. That evening, after missing the bus, they searched for a place to stay. Hu-young slipped and fell into a puddle. Hong-ju couldn't help but laugh. Trying to help him up with a handful of straw, she accidentally dropped him back into the water. Without thinking, she jumped in to help, and they both ended up soaked. Remembering the comical scene, Hong-ju laughs. Back in the present, Hong-ju refuses Hu-young's help, attempting to climb the stairs on crutches. She loses her balance, but Hu-young catches her. Seeing her struggle, he takes her to his uncle's house, asking for her prescription so he can get her medication. While he's gone, Hongju falls asleep. She dreams of Hu Young turning off the lights and silently kissing her. Waking up, she finds herself puckering her lips, embarrassed by her own fantasies. Blaming Hu Young for leading her on, she tries to climb the stairs to her apartment. Hu Young returns with the medicine, and seeing her struggle, carries her upstairs. Trying to hide her feelings, Hongju draws a line between them, claiming they're just classmates. If it weren't for Haiji, she wouldn't even know he existed, and she assumes he feels the same. Her words sting, and Hu Young quietly retreats downstairs. Junho, about to start working with Hongju, is advised by a friend to tell her the truth about what happened years ago, hoping she might change her mind about him. That year, Junho left Hongju for America, not because he wanted to, but because he hit a wall with his writing. He couldn't put pen to paper. Knowing Hongju idolized his work, he didn't want to shatter her image of him, so he broke up with her and left the country. He didn't want her to suffer watching him struggle. He hid the truth then, and he intends to keep it hidden now. Years later, fate has brought them back together, and Junho, brimming with confidence and oblivious to Hu Young's presence, is determined to win her back. Back at his uncle's house, Hu Young finds Hongju's business card on the floor. He smiles, seeing the words, "Animation producer." He flashes back to the night they were trapped in the puddle, sharing their dreams while waiting for help. Hu Young wanted to be an animation director. Hongju had no concrete plans, but she also loved animation. Seeing his wavering resolve, she jokingly told him to give his dream to her, and she'd fulfill it for him. He's touched that she actually kept her promise, almost as if she'd carried his dream with her all these years. He feels a deeper connection to her, a shared secret between them. The next morning, a hungry Hongju texts their group chat, asking Haiji and Sangpil to bring her food. To her surprise, Hu Young texts her directly, inviting her downstairs for breakfast. She realizes Haiji has added him to the group. Her friends have become her love gurus, one feeding Hu Young intel on Hongju's favorite foods, the other guiding him to make her favorite dessert. Blissfully unaware of the machinations, Hongju enjoys a meal perfectly tailored to her taste. After breakfast, Hu Young playfully demands 5% of her earnings, referencing her youthful promise to share her director's salary with him. Hongju, ever practical, explains that she's just a regular employee, years away from owning a home, let alone having money to share. Hu Young laughs, admitting he was just teasing. Hongju asks him not to bring up the past. Anything related to Junho is a memory she wants to erase. Hu Young counters that those memories belong to both of them. That day, Junho arrives at Hongju's company for a meeting, only to learn she's called in sick. He rushes to her place, arriving just as she and Hu Young are together, having witnessed Hu Young's heroic rescue. Before, he'd dismissed any romantic connection between them. Now, seeing them together again fuels his jealousy. He accuses Hongju of betraying their past vows. Hongju firmly states that her feelings for him are long gone. If he wants out of the project, he can leave. Defeated, Junho walks away. Hongju sits dejectedly outside her apartment, embarrassed that Hu Young keeps witnessing her at her worst. Inside, Hu Young is elated that her relationship with Junho is over. He texts her, "Get well soon, both your leg and your heart." Unable to contain his emotions, he leans down and kisses her. Hu Young reflects that memories are imperfect, some remembered by only one person. He recalls countless moments, unseen by Hongju, where he silently watched her, his heart aching with unspoken love. However, some memories belong solely to Hongju, unknown to him. That night in the puddle, while waiting for rescue, Hu Young had fallen asleep on her shoulder. In that moment, Hongju's heart pounded. The feeling of being overlooked, now remembered, revealed itself as the first flutter of her hidden feelings. The man kissed the woman he'd secretly loved for 10 years. The woman closed her eyes, a wave of shyness washing over her. But then, she pushed him away, remembering her friend's affection for him. The kiss was deep, passionate, and Hongju was momentarily lost in its sweetness. A ringing phone snapped her back to reality. She pushed Hu Young away, warning him not to joke around. Looking into her eyes, he confessed, "I'm not joking. Whether now or 10 years ago, I like you. I like you." He recounted the day he ran to the bus station to confess his feelings, only to be summoned abroad by his mother. Used to her decisiveness, he hadn't protested. He saw Hongju running towards him, telling him to wait, but he boarded the bus without a word, burying his feelings deep inside. Hongju was stunned by his confession. Recovering, she insisted they were just friends, that she never liked him and never would. But emboldened, Hu Young, now playfully persistent, told her not to jump to conclusions. The future was unpredictable. Besides, they'd kissed, proving they were more than friends. He didn't want to pressure her, so he left, but not before asking her to consider if they truly were just friends. After his confession, Hugh Young transformed. His usual aloofness melted away, replaced by a cheerful demeanor. He hummed while cooking, replaying the kiss in his mind. His uncle advised him to return to America, but Hugh Young wanted to stay near Hongju. He called his mother, discussing the possibility of transferring his work to Korea, a process he knew could take months. Hongju, flustered by his confession, sought refuge at Sang Pil's restaurant, busying herself with chopping onions. Sang Pil, sensing her turmoil, texted Hugh Young her location. Hugh Young rushed over, but Hongju had already fled. Sang Pil berated his friend for failing to win her over after 10 years, and decided to take matters into his own hands. The next day, Sang Pil tricked Hongju into a supposed outing. Reluctantly, she got into the car, where Hugh Young and his uncle were waiting. They drove her to the beach. The car ride was awkward, so Hugh Young's uncle reclined his seat, forcing Hugh Young closer to Hongju. At a rest stop, Hongju tried to escape, asking Sang Pil for her crutches. He ignored her, allowing Hugh Young to assist. Hongju told Hugh Young she wanted to pretend the kiss never happened. He wouldn't let it go, asking if she meant the kiss or his feelings. Flustered, Hongju pleaded for them to return to being friends, admitting she felt uncomfortable. Hugh Young, however, found the current situation more exciting, enjoying her obvious discomfort and his newfound presence in her thoughts. Overwhelmed by his words, Hongju retreated. Finally reaching the beach house, she frantically called Hai Yi, asking for a rescue, because she hated Hugh Young. Hai Ji, amused, teased that her friend's vehement denial spoke volumes about her true feelings. Hongju continued to deny everything. Meanwhile, Hai Ji spotted Mr. Sun jogging at school. Bathed in sunlight, Mr. Sun looked vibrant and healthy, catching Hai Ji's eye. Her heart filled with butterflies. As she moved to greet him, he abruptly changed direction, avoiding her. Using the excuse of returning his sneakers, she pursued him. He claimed he was busy, avoiding her again. Persistent, she finally cornered him before the end of the school day. Mr. Sun, flustered, tried to explain that Hai Ji's father, the vice principal, wanted to set him up on a blind date, but the words wouldn't come. He mumbled something about the vice principal asking him to organize a hiking trip for the teachers. Hai Ji thanked him, relieved that she and her sister had been spared a forced hike with their father. She then invited him to dinner the next day to thank him for helping with her charade. He hesitantly agreed. Upon receiving Hongju's call, Hai Ji dragged Mr. Sun to the meeting point. Excited about their impending alone time, she received a call from her sister. Dejected, she hung up. Mr. Sun was the blind date her father had arranged for her sister. Her sister had called, wanting a picture of him. Hai Ji reproached Mr. Sun for not telling her sooner, sadly requesting a beach photo to send to her sister. He tried to explain, but she drowned him out with loud music, lost in her thoughts. Hongju and the others arrived at the resort first and headed to the beach. Hugh Young, fishing, noticed the rising tide while Hongju was still exploring the shore. He rushed to find her, and they playfully searched for sea creatures together. Leaving the beach, Hongju spotted a large octopus. As they pulled on it together, they tumbled, Hongju landing on top of Hugh Young, their faces inches apart. A spark ignited between them. The atmosphere grew charged, and just as they were about to kiss, Hongju covered his mouth with her hand. Back at the house, Hongju found Hai Ji furiously pounding garlic. Sensing her friend's mood, she pulled her aside, asking if she'd argued with Mr. Sun. Hai Ji finally revealed the truth about their fake relationship, admitting her initial deception was to prevent Hongju from distancing herself from Hugh Young. Now she genuinely liked Mr. Sun, but he'd rejected her. She recounted their conversation in the car. Seeing her upset about the blind date, Mr. Sun had stopped the car, confessing he didn't want to go, but couldn't refuse. He promised to clarify things with her father and sister, and apologized for causing her distress. Emboldened, Hai Ji confessed her feelings, asking him if he wanted to date. Convinced, he reciprocated. To her shock, he denied any romantic interest in her. Hongju, having heard the whole story, teased Hai Ji, usually focused on looks, for falling for Mr. Sun's physique. Hai Ji, certain of his feelings, refused to give up. Love was a two-person game, and she intended to play, leaving no regrets. Hai Ji's resolve influenced Hongju. During dinner, she sat next to Hugh Young. Hai Ji, taking action, not only sat by Mr. Sun but also leaned against him while taking a selfie. That night, Hongju dreamt of being abandoned by her mother as a child, then her aunt, then Junho. She dreamt of running towards Hugh Young on the day he'd planned to confess, but he'd already boarded the bus. The next day, she went to school to find him, only to learn he'd left the country. All her life, Hongju had chased after others, only to be met with disappointment. This time, she dreamt of Hugh Young leaving for America. He asked her if she really wanted him to go. Hongju woke with a start, realizing Hai Jai and the others had left early to give them some alone time. Hugh Young, preparing breakfast, planned to take her out afterward. Watching him, Hongju recalled her dream and realized she didn't want him to leave. She confessed, "I don't want you to go back to America." He replied, "Then I won't." With her feelings revealed, Hongju walked towards him and kissed him. The man had finally won the heart of the woman he'd loved for a decade. But their newfound happiness would soon be challenged by his mother, who, upon learning of their relationship, would travel a great distance to separate them, stopping at nothing to achieve her goal. Hongju's kiss deepened, and Hugh Young, finally experiencing this long-awaited moment, responded with passion. They shared a tender, slightly awkward moment, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Back home, Hugh Young, unable to contain his joy, moved to kiss Hongju again. Just as the mood intensified, his uncle appeared, shattering the romantic bubble. He'd received a call from Hugh Young's mother, his sister, learning about Hugh Young's resignation. He considered it an extreme reaction, knowing how much Hugh Young and the company meant to his newly divorced sister. He urged Hugh Young to return to America, promising to bring him back eventually. But Hugh Young, preoccupied with Hongju, couldn't bear to leave her, even for a day. He begged his uncle to keep the news from Hongju. Later, Hugh Young tried to visit Hongju, but she, seeing her messy hair, pretended to be asleep. Over the phone he whispered, "Have I told you I like you?" He felt like saying it a million times wouldn't be enough. 10 years of pent-up emotions were finally overflowing. The next morning, eager to see Hongju, he called her down for breakfast, only to learn she was out with Hai Ji. He grumbled about Hai Ji's constant presence, even on the first day of their relationship. Unaware of his feelings, Hai Jai, eager to impress Mr. Sun, had dragged Hongju on a shopping spree for hiking clothes, and to the salon for perms. Sang Pil, watching the two friends excitedly taking selfies with their new curly hair, sent a picture to Hugh Young, suggesting, "The best way to get rid of Hai Ji is to get her a boyfriend." Hugh Young, surprised by the photo, quipped, "Why are you sending me pictures of dog fur?" Hugh Young finally reunited with Hongju, only to find her helping a drunken uncle home. Before their relationship, everyone was a helpful advisor. Now, everyone was an obstacle. Exasperated but obligated, he carried his uncle inside. The uncle began rambling, first criticizing Hongju's past relationship, then almost revealing Hugh Young's feelings. Hugh Young quickly silenced him and whisked Hongju away. Alone, he finally admired her new hairstyle, trying to make up for lost time. The following day, both dressed up for their first official date, but as they were about to leave, they found Hai Ji waiting at the door. Another obstacle in their path. Hai Ji, dressed to the nines for a hike with her father and Mr. Sun, learned he was sick and the trip was cancelled. Disappointed, she sought refuge with Hongju, hoping for some girl time. Exasperated, Hugh Young held Hongju's hand in front of Hai Jai, making his annoyance clear. Seeing Hai Jai unfazed, he remembered Sang Pil's advice and suggested she visit the ailing Mr. Sun. Hai Jai's heart fluttered, but she hesitated, realizing her hiking attire was inappropriate. Without hesitation, Hongju offered her the outfit she'd carefully chosen that morning. A delighted Hai Ji rushed to Mr. Sun's apartment with a vegetable salad, only to encounter his mother leaving. Mistaking Hai Ji for his girlfriend, Mr. Sun's mother's eyes lit up. Eager to connect with her potential future daughter-in-law, she bombarded Hai Ji with questions. Hai Ji, liking Mr. Sun, played along, enjoying the conversation. Mr. Sun, worried his mother might say something offensive, dragged her towards the car. As his mother continued to chatter, he blurted out that they weren't in a relationship. Hurt by his hasty denial, Hai Ji couldn't even bring herself to offer him the salad, leaving dejectedly. Heartbroken, she straightened her hair and anonymously returned his sneakers with a curt thank you note. Mr. Sun, seeing the formal tone, felt a pang of regret. He wanted to apologize and ask her out, but a student needing help interrupted him. As Hai Jai left the school, he rushed after her. Intending to apologize, he blurted out, "Do you regret yesterday?" Hai Ji, misinterpreting his question, sadly replied, "I won't bother you again." Watching her walk away, Mr. Sun cursed his clumsiness. While Hai Ji nursed a broken heart, Hongju enjoyed her date with Hugh Young. She asked him what he liked about her. He laughed, momentarily speechless. Unsatisfied with his stammering, she pressed him until he confessed. "Every time you say my name, my heart races. It's been like that for 10 years. He leaned closer, and as they were about to kiss, his uncle called. Hugh Young ignored the call, but his uncle then called Hongju, claiming it was urgent, and Hu Young needed to return immediately. He took her home, watching her enter before leaving. Back in her room, Hongju retrieved a box of mementos. Finding a life plan with both their names on it, she realized she'd kept it because, in that moment, her heart pounded the way it had in the puddle years ago. She finally understood. She'd had feelings for him for a long time. The emergency was the unexpected arrival of Hu Young's mother from America. He asked for her blessing to resign. Having always followed her wishes, he finally wanted to follow his heart. She refused, deciding to stay at the subsidiary until he agreed to return with her. Driving his mother to her hotel, they saw Hongju waiting for the bus. His mother remarked that she looked the same as before. 10 years ago, Hu Young, clutching a carefully chosen animated film, prepared to confess his feelings. But his mother's sudden demand to move abroad derailed his plans. Now she'd found him again and seen the woman who occupied his thoughts. Hongju, discovering the forgotten film, wondered who dropped it. Hu Young's mother appeared, claiming it as hers, and cryptically remarked, "My son's taste is different from what I imagined," unknowingly severing their connection. Back in the present, Hongju met Junho at his apartment to discuss work. He'd meticulously decorated the space with mementos of their past, hoping to rekindle her feelings. He wanted to get back together, but those around them remained unaware of their history. Earlier, at Haiji's house, Junho had seen a photo of Hu Young with her father. Learning of their long-standing connection, and feeling a pang of unease. Despite admiring his nephew's talent and success, Haiji's father warned him against pursuing Hongju. Junho explained his unavoidable reasons for leaving years ago. Unmoved, her father countered, "You should have been honest with Hongju. Let her decide whether to wait or move on. Telling her before hurting her would have been a reason. Telling her after is just an excuse." He'd witnessed Hongju's heartbreak as her teacher, and believed she deserved better. Now, using their work collaboration as a bridge, Junho tried to reconnect. But Hongju presented her revised manuscript, and announced her withdrawal from the project. Stunned, Junho suffered a sudden heart attack. As Hongju anxiously checked on him, he confessed, "I left because I was sick. Will you come back to me now?" Witnessing Junho's pain, Hongju finally learned the truth about his departure. But the hurt and disappointment lingered. Their feelings had cooled, impossible to rekindle. She confessed her feelings for someone else and her inability to return to him. Meanwhile, Hu Young's mother again insisted he return to America. But he stood firm, wanting to make his own choices, even if it meant rebellion or hardship. He refused to let her dictate his life any longer. To fully sever ties with Junho, Hongju wanted to quit the project entirely. Her boss urged her to remember her initial passion for the work, advising her not to sacrifice her dreams for personal matters. Hongju wavered, questioning her decision to lash out at a sick Junho and reject a good opportunity. Confused, she sought solace with Hu Young. She told him to stay put, then ran across the street and into his arms. To lift her spirits, they went to an arcade, enjoying the thrill of challenging games, their joy amplified by each other's company. On the way home, Hu Young confessed his resignation. Worried, Hongju asked if he'd done it because of her. He reassured her, holding her hand. "Don't worry. I'm Kang Hu Young." Reassured, Hongju returned home and gathered all her animation books and Junho's novels, carefully packing and discarding them. The next morning, she regretted it, realizing they represented her dreams. She searched, but the books were gone. Hu Young, jogging home, bumped into Hongju. Wanting to spend time with her, he took her hand for a walk. They ran into his mother. Hongju quickly withdrew her hand and bowed. His mother, pretending she was just a friend, thanked her for keeping Hu Young company. Hu Young held Hongju's hand tightly, formally introducing her as his girlfriend. His mother forced a smile and asked to speak with him privately. She blamed Hongju for his defiance, claiming he'd always acted recklessly for a woman, both 10 years ago and now. Hu Young insisted it was his choice, unrelated to Hongju, but his mother remained unconvinced. That evening, Hongju snuck home, finding Hu Young waiting on the stairs. He silently guided her upstairs and hugged her from behind. Knowing his mother would stay for a while, Hongju suggested staying at Haiji's. Uncomfortable with his mother's disapproval, Hu Young told her to ignore it, admitting he couldn't bear to be away from her. He held her tightly under the streetlight. His mother's disapproval made their path challenging, but it also strengthened their bond. They planned to have dinner at Sangpil's. Leaving her apartment, Hongju found Junho scattering paper airplanes made from her old letters. Unable to win her back, he was letting go. She reminded him they'd broken up 3 years ago. But for Junho, those years were just a temporary separation. This was the real goodbye. He threw one last paper airplane, which landed at Hu Young's mother's feet. She saw the confession written on it, and overheard their conversation. realizing their past relationship. After Junho left, she confronted Hongju, accusing her of having complicated relationships with men and warning her against entangling Hyung. She emphasized her son's potential for success and her intention to take him back to America, urging Hongju to leave him alone. Hongju retorted that it was Hyung who pursued her, a charming and attentive man. She couldn't resist. Despite her defiance, Hongju felt hurt and lost her appetite for dinner, lying down outside her apartment. Hyung, worried when she didn't arrive, found her and a paper airplane containing Hongju's confession to Junho. He pocketed it, asking why she hadn't come. She questioned him about his mother's claims of his frequent relationships and heartbreaks in America. She didn't want to dwell on his past, but hearing about it from others bothered her. Hyung begged her not to believe his mother, urging her to trust only him. But Hongju hesitated, fearing he'd silently disappear again. She couldn't trust him completely. He pulled out the paper airplane, admitting he was also affected by her past with Junho. Hongju insisted it wasn't the time to talk about Junho, but Hyung had seen firsthand how heartbroken Hongju was over Junho all those years ago. How could he just forget it? Now Hongju found herself in the awkward position of having to explain herself, reassuring Hyung that she and Junho had broken up a long time ago. Seeing Hyung's disbelief, old wounds reopened for Hongju. Just like Junho, Hyung had also left years ago without saying goodbye. Their conversation ended unhappily, leaving both feeling down. Upset, Hongju went to see her friend Haijai at school. While Hongju's love life was hitting a rough patch, Haijai's was taking a turn for the better. Ever since she'd decided to end things with Mr. Sun, Haijai had been avoiding him at school. But today, as she walked past the soccer field, she saw Mr. Sun playing soccer with his students. Suddenly, a stray soccer ball came hurtling towards her. It all happened so fast. She didn't have time to react, just squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for impact. But the expected pain never came. Mr. Sun had run and shielded her from the ball. Haijai took the injured Mr. Sun to the nurse's office, demanding, "You've gone this far, why won't you admit you like me?" Finally, Mr. Sun confessed. "All this time, it's been you." Haijai replied, "I like you too." Overcome with emotion, Mr. Sun leaned in and kissed her. Back at school, seeing students skipping class triggered a memory for Hongju. She remembered skipping class to confess her feelings to Junho, and how Hyung had been by her side the whole time. She'd openly expressed her feelings for Junho in front of Hyung, crying over him without a second thought. Now, Hongju finally realized how insensitive she had been to Hyung, who had loved her for so long. She finally understood why the paper airplane had upset him so much. Meanwhile, Hyung confided in his friend, Sang Pil, about his troubles with Hongju. Sang Pil brought out photos he had taken with Hongju and Haijai over the years he was away, hoping they might offer Hyung some insight into Hongju's life. Hongju had once mentioned a recurring dream, where everyone she cared about silently left her. She would chase after them, desperately wanting to say a proper goodbye, but could never catch up. Hyung now understood the hidden pain behind that dream. Having been abandoned without explanation so many times, she was terrified of him leaving the same way. He hadn't given her the security she needed. Ever since realizing Hyung had witnessed her feelings for Junho, Hongju had been consumed with guilt. After work, she rushed to find him. In her haste, she almost got hit by a car, but Hyung, who was also on his way to see her, pulled her back just in time. They gazed at each other, love shining in their eyes. Having finally cleared up their misunderstanding, Hongju and Hyung reconciled, holding hands and embracing more tightly than ever before. Walking Hongju home, Hyung lingered at her door, reluctant to leave. Equally reluctant to part, Hongju invited him in for ramen. Alone in her apartment, the simple act of looking at each other sent their hearts racing. Longing for more, Hongju brought up Hyung's return to America. She didn't want him to sacrifice his life, his passions, and his talents for her. Hyung began counting off the things he loved on his fingers, leaving work with her, taking her to new places, watching the animated movies she produced in theaters, and being in every future photo with her. Hongju smiled sweetly, her heart overflowing with joy that everything he wanted revolved around her. She promised to make all his wishes come true. The cardboard box they were sitting on, unable to bear their combined weight, became an unlikely Cupid. Hongju tumbled into Hyung's arms, and he held her close, refusing to let go. Their passion reignited. The young couple spent the night together. The next morning, Hyung walked Hongju to work. As they descended the stairs, they encountered his mother. Seeing their intertwined hands, she didn't say a word, simply turned and walked away. Hongju chased after her. Although she knew Hyung's mother held a prejudice against her, she was determined to build a relationship. bound by their shared love for Hu Young. To stay in Korea, Hu Young began seeking investments and building his own business. To counter this, his mother approached Hongju. She handed her an envelope. Hongju's face registered shock as she saw the contents, a bank card. During this time, Hu Young's mother had witnessed the depth of her son's love for Hongju. She no longer wanted to obstruct them, but she had her own stipulation. Hu Young had to return to America. She hoped Hongju would accompany him, and the money on the card was meant to cover her expenses. Leaving her homeland for a foreign country was not an easy decision. Hongju couldn't choose immediately. Running into Haiji's father, her former teacher, she invited him for a meal and sought his advice. He told her to follow her heart. He believed in her resilience and knew she would thrive anywhere. Of all the students he'd taught, Hongju held a special place in his heart. He then asked about her current boyfriend, and upon learning it was the math genius. Hu Young expressed mock annoyance that Hu Young hadn't come to see him. Hu Young's mother informed him of her decision to return to America and revealed that she had hired a lawyer to sue him. The company hadn't finalized his resignation, and as their employee, his unauthorized pursuit of investments was grounds for legal action, which would certainly jeopardize his current ventures. Before leaving, she told Hu Young that she'd offered Hongju the opportunity to go to America with him. Hu Young could only imagine Hongju's confusion and helplessness upon hearing his mother's proposition. He stood outside Hongju's apartment, watching the light flicker on and off. He knew her inner turmoil was reflected in that flickering light, a sign of her racing, disorganized thoughts. He didn't want to intrude. After a restless night, the couple met at their old high school. Hongju reminisced, wishing she had met Hu Young sooner. He pulled her close, urging her to come to America with him. He understood the magnitude of the decision, but he couldn't bear the thought of being separated from her. Hongju confessed that her love for him was strong enough to leave everything behind. But Korea was her home, where her friends, family, and familiar life resided. She couldn't simply abandon it all. Hu Young understood, and though his heart ached, he wouldn't force her. He promised to return, and when he did, he wouldn't let her go. Accepting their impending separation, they cherished their remaining time together, sharing spicy rice cakes, decorating a Christmas tree, taking photos, and watching the animated movie Hongju had worked on while enjoying drinks. Hongju fell asleep on his shoulder. Hu Young paused the movie when her name appeared in the credits, and drifted off to sleep holding her. Occasionally, Hongju would meet up with Haiji, who was enjoying her secret romance with Mr. Sun and eager to make it public. One day, while sitting on campus, Haiji spotted her boyfriend walking by with a group of teachers. She waved, but Mr. Sun didn't react. Feeling unacknowledged and hurt, Haiji stormed off. Her high heel caught in a crack in the boardwalk. As she bent down to retrieve it, her embarrassed expression was witnessed by both her father and Mr. Sun. Mr. Sun decisively strode forward, retrieved the shoe, and slipped it onto Haiji's foot. Declaring he would hide his feelings no longer, he loudly addressed Haiji's father as his future father-in-law, announcing his intention to marry Haiji. With her father's blessing, Mr. Sun joyfully swept Haiji into his arms and carried her away. While they had gone public with their relationship, Hongju couldn't share their joy completely. She confided in Hu Young about their impending separation, the time frame uncertain, but at least 6 months. Haiji voiced her concerns. With Hu Young unable to give a definite return date, would Hongju have to wait for him indefinitely? She suggested Hongju go to America with him, but Hongju was too attached to her life in Korea to make such a drastic decision. Time flew by, and as Christmas approached, their friends gathered for a celebration. With Haiji and Mr. Sun openly affectionate, Hu Young, head down, texted Hongju, asking when she would arrive. Hongju was swamped with work, nearing a project deadline, and facing another all-nighter at the office. Seeing her message, Hu Young grabbed his coat and headed out, calling Hongju, but she didn't answer. Mr. Sun joined him, revealing that the cafe where he'd first met Hongju for their blind date had been a random choice, a chance decision that had led to their dramatic reunion. The next day was Hu Young's departure for America. Hongju, still at work, couldn't see him off. He sat dejectedly at the airport, lost in thought. He didn't notice Hongju, pushing a suitcase, quietly approach him. She had worked through the night, and, combined with her saved vacation days, had earned herself enough time to accompany Hu Young to America. Overcome with emotion, Hu Young embraced and kissed her. Hand in hand, they walked towards the gate. On their way, Hu Young reflected on the coincidences that had shaped their relationship. In high school, a chance encounter in the nurse's office led him to offer Hongju a glass of water. Later, while taking photos with teachers after an awards ceremony, she had run past, capturing his attention with her energy. He then saved her from an oncoming bicycle, injuring his leg in the process. Hobbling home on the bus later, he found her asleep at the back. These countless coincidences had become testaments to their love. And that's the end of our story. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great movies. See you next time.